What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first official 2026 offseason rebuild here on the Sideline Journal. And what we're going to do is we're going to take probably the top 10 to 12 teams in the NFL draft and realistically simulate 2 to 3 seasons of what their team could look like from the rebuild from their 2026 draft class. And I've got a roster put together and downloaded to where we got to start at the 2025 season in Madden, but it's the 2026 roster. We got Tyler Linderbaum in there at center. We've also got Jalen Naylor over in here as well. And then we've got all the other highlights of their draft class. Fernando Mendoza, obviously number one pick. Mike Washington Jr. Then we're going to flip over to the defensive side. We got their second round pick, Dylan Stewart. And then for out of realism, we got Jermon McCoy here with a star dev, but we're not going to play him for the first season as he recovers from his knee injury. One thing the CPU did do is they signed DJ Reader, who's currently a free agent. And I think it makes sense because what we've got here inside of the sim as well is I'm going to flip over to our team schemes. What you're going to see here is we got Clint Kubiak as the head coach in real life. So we're going to run the Seattle Seahawks playbook, the offense and defense. And that's a 3-4 scheme, which is what they're switching to in real life. And I think that he'd be a really good nose tackle for us. So obviously the number one goal is to win a Super Bowl, which is what we're going to try to do. But this roster needs a lot of work. We've got our left tackle here for a couple years. We've got Linderbaum, obviously. Powers Johnson's a young right guard I'm happy about. But right tackle is going to be something that is going to be a work in progress for us. DJ Glaze, I don't think he's a long-term solution there. I think he's a stopgap. Jordan Meredith as well as somebody that is definitely a younger player that provides solid depth. But I see this team being a team that's going to run through this man right here, Ashton Jeanty. Our goal is going to be try to get him 2,000 rushing yards. Don't know if that's going to happen. That's what we're going to try to do. Also, we need some receiving threats right now. We've got a bunch of normal dev traits, so we're going to need to try to draft or supplement in free agency. Flipping over to the defensive side, the real question is going to be, do we keep Maxx Crosby for the long term? We extend him, try to figure out a trade that makes sense. For now, we're going to sit with keeping him and see what this team can do because realistically, we're going to do what I think the Raiders are going to do. The first 10 weeks, we're going to start Kirk Cousins and try to be as competitive as possible in the sim. And then my goal is hopefully we're around 5-12, 6-11, have a top 10 pick, start Mendoza the last couple weeks, try to make sure that we get him up to close to an 80 overall by the time that he starts, and that Ashton Jeanty, we get him to a superstar X Factor by the end of year one. So that's kind of the goal. Obviously, where you make your money's worth in Madden Sims is who you have in these specialist positions because it's going to determine the stats. It's going to develop them. And so we've got a young corner in real life that I'm excited about for him. It's Darian Porter. Yeah, I was going to say Deontay Porter. Darian Porter. He's going to play slot for us. He's going to end up with a star dev. At rush and defensive tackle, so that we get all of our best edge rushers on the field, I've got Malcolm Kuntz and Maxx Crosby as the stand-up edge rushers. And then rushing defensive tackle, I'm actually going to make Kwity Paye line up as a 3 technique to get up on some guards. Because he's about 265, 268. He's a little bit bigger. It might not make the most sense, but for the Madden Sim, I think it's going to work out. And then gadget player, Ashton Jeanty, obviously. Slot wide out, we're going to try to feed Trey Tucker in that JSN role instead of Clint Kubiak's offense. But that's ultimately where things stand. And so these training camps are actually pretty important, and we're going to go ahead and kind of operate it with Fernando Mendoza. But, I mean, the 2026 draft class for the Raiders is honestly pretty solid. I think a lot of people were semi-unhappy with the Traden Stukes selection, but I mean, he's somebody that it was a very big position of need. In real life, I think he's going to play nickel. I've already been sacked. We're going to have to restart this hoe. But in real life, he's probably going to be playing their nickel, but inside of this simulation, he's going to play the free safety spot for us because that's going to get him the most time on the field. I think when in free agency, kind of in the next offseason, when I can find a free safety that makes sense, they'll take over to where he'll play nickel and I can have a backup free safety play that spot. And then we got Jermon McCoy. I'll probably move on from Taron Johnson, find a trade that makes sense, and have Darian Porter as our other corners. But I thought it was a fine selection for where they made it. He was about my 53rd player on my big board. And, I mean, when you get into the second round, that's where draft evaluations are really going to go off the rails because they have access to stuff that we don't have, like medicals and full character profile concerns. And the PI work that they do on these guys before they ever draft them is pretty insane. But I think that the Raiders are really set up to be successful because ultimately it's all going to go down to this guy that we're semi-failing here. I'm not really hitting any bullseyes, and I just got sacked. Well, we're going to have to be happy with Silver here. But ultimately, where they're going to go as a franchise is going to be where this guy goes in his development. And I think put him into the best situation possible where he's going to come in and not have to be the savior right away, and they're going to try to build a competitive team where Ashton Jeanty in that run game with Brock Bowers is going to provide a pretty high floor, and then Kirk Cousins is going to teach him how to be a professional, which there's really not more that you could ask for to do that. And so, I mean, ultimately, for the Raiders, a 6-11 and 7-10 season is going to be what makes them successful. And I mean, they're not built to compete right now, especially not in the division that they're in, because you've got the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs who their windows are open right now. And so, what the Raiders are just focusing on doing is getting back to where they're playing competent football. And it's not an embarrassment of a franchise anymore. And I mean, they've just had so much turnover of not lining up the head coach and GM. We've got the John Spytek era now, Tom Brady ownership group. Before that, there's Tom Telesco. And before that, you had the Josh McDaniel and Antonio Pierce ran circus. And so, and even before that, the last time they really had a competent staff around him was John Gruden and Derek Carr. And that wasn't even really competent because as much as I love John Gruden as a football coach, do not let that man around make draft picks, because when he makes draft picks, we end up with the 4th overall pick in Cleveland Farrell or Damon Arnett, who's out of the league, or Alex Leatherwood. Because I always respected Mike Mayock as an NFL draft evaluator. I always thought he did a pretty solid job. And it just was bonkers to me the second that he gets a real NFL job that he was making such awful picks. And so that's what caused me to believe it was John Gruden. But the Raiders are finally entering an era where they've got a solid nucleus of young talent. Like we kind of mentioned, right? They bring in Tyler Linderbaum. They have Trey Tucker. I like Jack Besh. They have a really good franchise player in Brock Bowers. I think they have a franchise player in Ashton Jeanty. Colton Miller, you've got 3 to 4 more years of high quality play out of him. Jackson Powers Johnson, he is somebody that I think can be a guard and start for you for a good period of time. I just think anything that you saw on the offensive line last year, you've got to just squash it because of who was the coach for them, which was Pete Carroll's son. So I think that the Raiders are in a pretty good position here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to fast forward through the preseason. I'm going to get some depth traits up, and I'll meet you guys in the middle of the season and see where we're at going through 6 or 7 games here. All right, so we're 9 games into the season here, past our bye week, and you can see we're 3-6, which is pretty par for the course here. And it looks like the offense and defense are both bad, which we probably expected with the talents on the roster. Let's see how Kirko Chains is doing. Kirko's doing bad enough to where I think this is the acceptable point to make Fernando Mendoza the starting QB. And then our goal with Ashton Jeanty, he's got 500 rushing yards. It's very far off at 2,000 rushing yards. So he's averaging about 63 a game. It's probably because of how bad our offense is. Receiving-wise as well, we got Trey Tucker there eating it up in the slot. For some reason, Brock Bowers is not getting fed like I would want him to in this offense. So when I play some games myself, I'll try to boost some stats there. Then we've got our Mike linebackers here holding down the fort. Pass rush-wise, Maxx Crosby's leading the way. We're not really getting a great pass rush either. Overall, our team's playing like the talent that's currently on the Raiders roster. But we already have as much wins as last season, and the goal going into this was 6 or 7 wins. I know I keep saying the magical number here, but y'all catch my drift here. So, I mean, let's go in and let's see which players are performing well or not here and upgrade some players. This is the part that I love the most. I always try to do it average as I upgrade players. I always like well-rounded ones. I never just try to push their overall up. And so, I mean, for Ashton Jeanty right now, I'm pushing up power back to get that. Eventually, the overall gets up, but it's because if you go look at his ratings, he's got some really strong ratings, but then spin moves 80, strengths 80, his carry rates aren't quite as high as I would like. And so that's always why I end up trying to make a well-rounded player and maybe not always just push the overall up as high as I want, which it might not be the smartest thing to do, but it's what I like to do. And see, we got Jermon McCoy here. He's not even playing, that we're able to upgrade, which is interesting. It'll definitely be a boost to our defense when he's healthy again come next season, which he's healthy in this right now, but we're just trying to make it realistic because I normally don't rebuild with injuries because I don't know if that's not as realistic as you want it to be or not, but I just think in a game like this that we want to try to make the most ideal outcome happen possible. And I think in real life injuries just suck and you never want to see it happen for somebody, and so that's why I don't play with them in here. But we're going to upgrade Mendoza up to 77 overall, and we're going to get him in to play and see what he can do, which I think will always be fun doing some live gameplay with you guys, because what I like to do is I like to talk through plays as I play to get in the mind of my brain, because it's something that I thought about doing on the channel or not, but if y'all don't watch Film Watchers, I think he's got that niche on the internet pretty locked down as far as actually watching NFL film and diagnosing different formations and schematics and coverage as live plays are going. Tape talk, those are great. He just had Zach Allen on, who's a really good defensive tackle, really a five tech edge for the Broncos, sometimes at a 4-eye, really good underrated football player. I would encourage you guys to check that out. But back to the Las Vegas Raiders here, and I think we've got some good enough upgrades here. Going to scroll through. Yep, Jackson Powers Johnson, get agile going because we run a zone running scheme. So I want him to be agile. Well, they got him a star dev. That's kind of nice. My goal for Trey Tucker is to try to get enough stats in him this season, so that way he'll get up to a star dev. And Jalen Naylor is just a steady Eddie receiver, somebody that's a high floor guy. He may not be in the roster past his 3-year, $33 million contract, but number one goal in the offseason is going to be improving the interior defensive line. My eyes like on David Stone this upcoming draft class, or one of the two edge rushers, Colin Simmons or Dylan Stewart. Because if that's the way the draft falls into our laps, I might end up trading Maxx Crosby, for some more draft picks. But that's kind of the way that I see us going with this rebuild, and then seeing who ends up in free agency to supplement a little bit. But overall, this isn't a too bad makings of a first season for the Raiders. So we're going to go ahead and go into this depth chart here and get Mendoza starting. And oh, good. This can be against my Dallas Cowboys. We'll try to make Mendoza's first start an exciting one, because as much as I like what the Cowboys did this offseason, getting Caleb Downs, Malachi Lawrence, Kenny Clark, trading for D Winners, and looking like a rebuilt defense, I'm sure that in Madden 26 their defense is still going to be bad. So let us take advantage of that. So we're going to run a little halfback slam here. I'm going to get the center and left guard to combo Kenny Clark up to DeMarvion Overshown and try to press that combo and get a little bit of yards. But I mean, Ashton Genty's a player that I don't think people realize is truthfully probably a top 5 running back, and just how bad the Raiders offensive line actually was. Because if y'all don't know, the coach that was the coach for the offensive line for the Raiders last year was Pete Carroll's son, and it was an absolute nepo hire, because there was reports coming out about week 12 of the season that Geno Smith and the offensive linemen were all meeting together just trying to figure out what they were even doing, because it was apparent that Pete Carroll was trying to run his gap scheme all the way back from 2015 in the run game, and Chip Kelly had his version of offense, and Chip Kelly was calling plays that didn't even exist. And so that's why they just look so disconjointed and disconnected. And it honestly makes so much sense when you watch them on all 22 tape about how that they were playing, like how bad the Raiders were playing on offense. But you know, it's just one of those things that you don't think they could imagine that could happen in the NFL, but then it actually does happen because people are human. But it's going to be an exciting season, I think, for the Raiders. I think that, oh, what a horrible throw I just made to Caleb Downs. That's a welcome to the NFL moment for Mendoza right there. But, I mean, I think that the Raiders are just definitely primed to have some more exciting football ahead for better days. I think that Maxx Crosby is a situation they're going to have to figure out on what they're going to do, but he's definitely, I think that everybody's pretty mad about that trade that got nixed, because it would have set them up to where, what if the Raiders came away with their second first-round pick, Vega Ione, Kenyon Sadiq. Well, they wouldn't go Kenyon Sadiq because of Brock Bowers. What if they also ended up with Omar Cooper Jr. and reunited Fernando Mendoza with that receiving threat? Did I just throw another interception? Holy cow, y'all. This is getting not nice. I was an offensive line coach. I wasn't a quarterback's coach. I'm kidding. I should actually pay attention to what I'm doing here. We're going to look at Trey Tucker on this out route, and I threw it into a squat corner for a second interception. This is going terribly. Don't worry, we're going to get our get back, though. I'm playing with a playbook I'm not used to, which is not defensible at all. But Mendoza, rookie, welcome to the league moment. He's thrown his 2 picks. We're about to get his get back. We're going to run mesh here, get it to Brock Bowers in the flat for a nice little 20-yard gain. And we're we're going to get in a flow of play calling here. I think I'm going to go trap. Let's look. Let's see where the shade is. Yeah, we're going to trap Quinnen Williams here. Oh, Jackson Powers Johnson, you got to win on that. You can't lose. I'm not liking Wham. Let's do a little RPO. This is what was Mendoza's bread and butter, which you can see over here that we've got 2 over 3, so we're going to throw this. And they also even blitz the corner on top of that. It's even better. So, I mean, that was a read that I think even middle school quarterback can make at the NFL level. We'll get under center here and go dive. Do I want to go verts? Nah, we'll go PA cross here. I think they're going to expect us to run it. Nope, they drop back in coverage. When they do that, you dump it off to the running back. Nice little 8-yard gain. Don't try to push it down the field and throw interceptions like I did for my first 2 throws. But I think that could be realistic, though, for a rookie quarterback, right? The first time live action in an NFL offense, they can take their lumps early. And I definitely think that Clint Kubiak in the Seahawks offense in real life, they threw it the least amount out of anybody in the NFL last year, but they also had the highest explosive play percentage. So it's just an offense that's built to shoot and run the football. And so when they throw it, it's high risk, high reward. A little RPO bubble for about 5 yards. So, I mean, we're still kind of on motion here, or on schedule here. We're going to probably have it 14-7 at halftime, which ultimately, if we lose, it's a good thing, because that means that we're going to end up with a better football player. Dump it off to our main man, Brock Bowers, again. No. We'll go for a triangle read concept. I don't. Let's see if this works out. I think it will, where it can scissor across. Yep. That's a little rub concept in real life that you would run, where you're doing a stack shade alignment there, and you have basically Brock Bowers. What he did is he runs a clear out route to where it's pretty much offensive pass interference, but you don't want him to call it, and then you rub the receiver right underneath, and that's kind of what we ran there. We'll go tight end swirl. Why not? Except we're going to run him on a little slanty and see. Yep. Thank you. That's a tutty. See, I just had to get in the rhythm, guys. You know, I just had to get my get back in after throwing 2 picks. But third, it's still 14-7. Madden did not do many favors to the Seahawks playbooks. If you watched the Seahawks, it's very similar to the Cowboys offense, which is under center, play action with some RPO, but it is very, very run heavy West Coastian, because they come from the same families of offense in the NFL, right? Like, it's Mike Shanahan, Clint Kubiak. Brian Schottenheimer's dad was Marty Schottenheimer. Clint Kubiak's dad was Gary Kubiak, the head coach for the Texans. So, I mean, they're Nepo babies, but they're Nepo babies for a reason. It's because they know good offensive football and they know what they're doing. Because the NFL is a league that's not for long, and if they weren't good at their jobs, they wouldn't still be in it. So, point being is their offensive scheme in real life works. It's 4th and 6, and you didn't convert. F that. We're going for it. Why not? All right, let's lock in here. It's 4th and 6. We got a bunch to the right. We could go empty flat stick, except I'm gonna want him to clear out. I'm gonna want that, and I'm gonna want that. Let's see what happens. Genty, don't drop this. Thank you. He got that right. Yeah, that was enough. Okay, let's get under center here and do what we said we were going to do, which is run the football. We got our 5th round pick in here, Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas, which in real life he is pure speed. He's a big physical freak who doesn't know how to run the football and like as a running back. That's what you always find with running backs, right? You find somebody that has great contact balance, great feel, great elusiveness, and that's what you want as a running back. So that's how somebody like Frank Gore, who's not the biggest and runs like a 4.7, was in the league for 18 years, just because he knows how to, he has just a feel that you can't teach. It's what this awareness stat in Madden is trying to simulate. But Mike Washington Jr., that's why an athlete like that fell, and that is why ultimately he's now a backup for Ashton Genty. We're kind of moving right along here. This is because our team's really limited, and I'm getting so much pressure on the right side, but I'm just having to kind of dink and dunk it down the field. And it's also because our receivers don't really separate. Like, our best receiver is Brock Bowers, which I really hate in Madden, is they haven't really found a way to simulate tight ends very well and really have a tight end that's just dominant. It's not like Retro Bowl where you can only throw it to your tight end. It's honestly the exact opposite. But you know what? Let's try to get, well, dang, I thought that was going to be Bowers lined up where Tucker is. Well, let's see if we can get Tucker here on this double move open. Nope, but Naylor is. Except Mendoza got the rookie shakes and couldn't make it. So now we're in third down. This was not the play I called, so that's great. We'll motion to Sale, but we're going to try to hit Bowers here. It looks like they're sending a blitz, so we'll throw that over their heads, which is always what you do in real life, right? It's Todd Bowles-esque, is when the linebackers blitz, you try to find where he's trying to hide the open players running. But younger quarterbacks, they normally get scared and throw it straight towards the blitzing linebackers instead of to the wide open receiver behind them. Anyways, we got more blitzes. We'll roll Mendoza to Trey Tucker, who then drops the football. Second down here, I think we're going to try to run it out of the gun, spread them out, but then just hand inside zone. Try to climb Tyler Linderbaum up. We'll go off their ass. The linemen go left, running back tied off the ass, going to the right. Touchdown. So we've tied it up here. It's 14-14. We're trying to get Genty and Mendoza some meaningful football playing here. This is going to be our backfield of the future. So you can see it right here between Mendoza, Genty, and Bowers. This is going to be the ultimate foundation of our football team on offense. And then my goal is to try to extend Tyler Linderbaum, not let him leave. Goal is year 3. We're going to go for a Super Bowl. I probably won't hop in again until the end of year 2 if we make the playoffs, or year 3 when we do make the playoffs. I just wanted to have an opportunity here to kind of sit and play and talk about these teams a little bit. Did nobody think to cover Ashton Genty? That's kind of wild. But Raiders fans, I'm kind of curious how y'all are feeling about the offseason, because, I mean, you made some interesting free agent signings also as well with Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Kwity Paye, and it seemed like all the moves. Oh, why did he overthrow that? Man, Mendoza and Trey Tucker cannot get on the same page right now. But it seems like y'all made a lot of moves with the intention of Maxx Crosby not being there anymore. And then y'all end up not trading him. And so I'm curious to just see how that locker room dynamic goes. Do y'all welcome Maxx Crosby back? Do y'all wish he was traded? And how y'all are kind of feeling about things down in Sin City? Because I think it definitely is an exciting time, but I know how I am as a fan of the Dallas Cowboys. I can always get very delusional about how good I think they're going to be. But I definitely think that they weren't treated as exciting as they should be for the NFL draft, because they had the number 1 overall pick, and we knew where they were going for a very long time with Fernando Mendoza. But I don't think people talked enough about Fernando Mendoza and what he's going to mean to the city, because the last number 1 overall pick at quarterback that they took was Jamarcus Russell. And if we want to talk about completely polar opposite people that play the same position were taken at the same draft pick, look at those two guys. But I just think Mendoza is exactly the safest bet, safe double that you can probably try to bat at the position, to where if you end up with Kirk Cousins at the quarterback position for the next decade, well, that's going to be the best quarterback that y'all have had that's going to give you a chance to win in this decade, honestly. Because Derek Carr at his peak was a far better player than Kirk Cousins was, excuse me. And so, I mean, I think if you can get Fernando Mendoza to develop to that, that's the exact spot we want to be in. Let's see if we can knock this clutch field goal here to go up by 3 and let the Sim play defense. That was almost blocked. Holy cow. 17-14. Hopefully they beat us. That way we haven't even... Oh, they tied it up. 2 seconds. Hail Mary. F that. We're not doing a Hail Mary. We'll see if we can cheese this sucker. We'll see what happens here. Nope. We're going to overtime. All right. Well, we always go to overtime every time that I play. If y'all didn't check out the Madden rebuild, we in the conference championship game on their route to the Super Bowl with the Rams, we went into overtime, and then in the Super Bowl, it came down to the very final play. So I mean, tell you what, I guess the sim settings I got set on here, which are honestly just the default settings, are pretty accurate because it's always ends up being competitive. But they won. They want the football first. Whatever. We'll let the sim play defense, and we'll try to. Regardless, I'm not gonna freaking play for a tie. I play to win, baby. Because I think that ties are the stupidest thing in the game of football. This isn't soccer or ladies football. This is grown men playing a game, a violent game, and I think it's important that there's a winner and a loser. And so I've always thought that was really dumb about the NFL is that they have ties. Anyways, we'll do a little middle, high, low there. Have a smoke screen to Genty, pick up 8 yards, get out of bounds. We really, I guess, only do need a field goal because they didn't score, and we got the ball back. We'll run escape. We'll look at Naylor, which, if I gotta remember that Mendoza is a rookie quarterback with awful stats right now. So the way that corner routes work is you're supposed to aim for the back pylon or 20 yards as a wide receiver, and then the quarterback's supposed to throw you flat. And so I threw the ball flat, and a wide receiver in real life is trained to round off that corner to get to the football. But my wide receiver in Madden decided not to do that. We'll look to Tucker to Bowers here over the middle. Bowers sits down. He's open underneath Beck's stem, and we're getting to the 2-minute warning in overtime. We'll do ball control, to be honest with you. Oh, is there no two? I guess there's no 2-minute. Okay, well, never mind. This might end up in a tie if I'm not careful. We'll go dragon spacing, I guess, because that was the play suggested. We're going to call a timeout so that way I can get the right personnel on the field that I want. This playbook is booty cheeks. Holy cow. We're actually going to do a slot fade. And then is it not going to let me do a return? Thank you. No, I wanted a zig. It's not going to let me do a zig. Fine, we'll do smoke screen. Thank you. If they've got inside shade like that for the corner in Madden, you know it's either going to be he's pressed on the slot or it's going to be a corner blitz. So I'm kind of spamming that right now. And then I just called middle, high, low again to try to take advantage of that alignment. Which we'll just spam that to Jack Besh again. Hurry up. We'll go corner strike. There's no one open. Hey, there we go. That's very not realistic, but we'll make it work for Madden. We got some more coach suggestions here. F choice spot. I think that's solid, but I'm looking forward to really getting to the end of the season, to the off season, which is what y'all want to see, so that way we can actually rebuild this team a little bit. But it's the coach in me. I don't have the ability to let myself lose. I got to go for it 100%, try to get the best stats, try to get that stat ratio for Mendoza back to where it's 2 for 2, because as dumb as it sounds in this sim, the stats that you play with as a player, that's what the sim's gonna mimic. So we do mesh sneak there to get the Genty, boost his stats a little bit, try to get the chain moving. Oh, great. Let's see who held. Jordan Meredith. Okay, great. Well, so much for that. We'll go bench here. That's what we're gonna do. We'll look for Bowers. Nope, Genty. 3rd and 13. Verts White seems like a solid option. We're getting down to the wire here. Just the important thing is that I don't take a sack here, which I almost do. But get it to Bowers, get in field goal range, take the timeout. Don't choke it here and kick a game-winning field goal. Good deal. Nice solid win. Gets us to 4, so at the very least we bettered our win total from last year. I'm hoping that the sim, now that Mendoza's starting, is going to allow for him to hopefully win a couple more games and play competitive football, get him to an 80 overall for year 2. And we're going to go for it to where really we're going to try to figure out a number 1 receiving threat for him. We're going to try to figure out the right tackle position, and then on defense, we got to figure out this front seven because right now what we got going on up there is not really working. And if what I can end up doing is getting a good high floor defensive tackle in free agency, then maybe we don't go David Stone, maybe we go Colin Simmons or Dylan Stewart. But if that doesn't happen, I might end up trading Maxx Crosby for some multiple first round picks. That way I can get David Stone and one of those edge rushers. It might not be completely realistic, but that's kind of the vision that I have for this team right now. So I'll meet you guys at the off-season, end-of-season awards. Well, we finished the season 6-11, so I mean that is a 3-game improvement, which is exactly what I think the Raiders are prepared to do going into this next era. The important thing is the development of the team, trying to build winning football, and development of Fernando Mendoza. And so let's kind of go check over the stats here, kind of see how everything turned out. Which for Mendoza, starting about 7 games, it's really not terrible. He threw more picks than interceptions, which is not good, but I think it's more so of the scheme that we're running with the Seahawks. Ashton Jeanty, 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns. It's very solid. Receiving wise, we almost got Trey Tucker to 1,000 yards. We got Brock Bowers for some reason only sitting at 500 when he probably should be our number one receiving threat. I'm going to chalk it up to the Seahawks playbook. Depending on how that continues to play out, I might switch the playbook on offense, but we'll stick with the Seahawks on defense. We've got Maxx Crosby with a double-digit sack season. We pretty much got nothing else produced from anybody else. Malcolm Kuntz was pretty awful. Interceptions-wise, Jeremy Chin was in the building and showed up with some picks. Actual in-season awards, we've got Joe Burrow for the Bengals coming back, being healthy, winning MVP. Coach of the Year, Zach Taylor. Would you look at that, Bengals fans? It seems that they like the offseason moves that y'all made. Offensive Player of the Year, somehow Keenan Allen, 34-year-old Keenan Allen on the Bills did it. And then TJ Watt, 32 years old. Would you look at that? Offensive Rookie of the Year, this is including the 2025 and 2026 rookies just because of how we had to do it in the sim. And so if all these rookies were in and Omarion Hampton was healthy, that's who they have being the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, that is a shocker. Keldrick freaking Falk over Captain America. That's kind of wild. So that's kind of your offseason awards there. Let's buzz it forward to the player negotiations that we'll have and really take a look here at who we're going to let go, who we're going to sign, and how we're going to attack this rebuild. We got some players to upgrade after the end of the season. Hopefully Mendoza's got some. Ashton Jeanty, good. We can upgrade him a little bit. Sucks that we didn't win that award because he's not going to be a superstar X Factor, but you can see his dev trait is up to superstar, which I think in a year's time with his overall and what we're trying to do with him and how we're going to build the team, that he's going to be more than fine to get up to superstar X Factor. That's the goal, right? Is we're trying to build a team that runs the football and runs it extremely well. Trading Stukes, that's really nice to see, is that we are going to be able to develop him into being a very good safety nickel player for us, which our secondary is going to be in a good spot now that we're going to have Darian Porter, Jermod McCoy, and this guy, and really I can go sign an extra safety and having Jeremy Chin. I also think we have high floors with our linebackers for the next 2 years with Quay Walker and Kobe Dean. What we've got to rebuild on our defense is the front four. The defensive line's an absolute mess, and that is where the major hole is. Looks like our redshirt season for Jermod McCoy, the dev is there. We're pretty much getting, in addition to whatever we do in the 2027 draft class, close to an 80 overall rookie, which is exciting to see here. You got to remember, too, he's only 20 years old. We've also now got Mendoza. We're going to get him to an 80 overall, make him a field general. No, the morale's down, but he was playing with really nothing. And our number one goal is going to be getting him to play good football because we can't let him turn into a bust. So Darian Porter as well, going to upgrade slot. Slot upgrades both zone and man, which is what we want to normally see. Sometimes it upgrades tackle as well, but normally slot gives you zone coverage and man coverage. So I'll see you guys when we're actually negotiating here with free agents. So we had a Bills-Lions Super Bowl, which I think everybody would be excited about because it would be first-time Super Bowl champions regardless. We had the Lions defeating the Bills. The Bills are 5 times losers in the Super Bowl. So that's kind of our season recap here that we saw, and so we're going to move forward to negotiating our free agents, deciding who we want to keep, who we want to get rid of, and then attacking the free agency market. So players ready to negotiate. That's not right. Eric Stokes is already on a 3-year contract. I'll make sure that he gets re-signed because in real life, He's on like a 3-year, $33 million deal, so we'll do that. I'll change it to where there's only 2 years left on it. DJ Reader, see you, buddy. No way I'm paying you $20 million when I signed you off the street, and in real life, you're still a free agent. Jordan Meredith's an okay starting guard. I'm okay with a 2-year deal for him because we do have a good amount of cap space, and at the very least, he can be a swing guard starter for us, and that looks like all of them. So we got a lot of cap space to play with. Let's see who's available in free agency who we want to add to the team, because definitely looking for wide receiver, looking for right tackle, looking for defensive playmakers. And so the available free agency class looks like we've got pretty much nothing. Somehow Javonte Williams got cut. We got Taylor Decker still existing, Jawan Jennings, Alex Singleton. We got Rashid Shaheed, which could be interesting to add in for Clint Kubiak as a receiving threat. Don't tell me this roster is going to be really, really stupid and have all sorts of rookies that shouldn't be out, like Jeremiah Love. Well, we're going to act like we didn't see that, and I'll make sure that he gets back on the appropriate team. But looking at free agency, there's really nothing here that's just catching my eye that it's like, hey, we've got to sign. I think really the conversation is looking at the draft board, which looking at the draft, we've got the combine results, but let's build out our big board, right? So we're not in the quarterback market. So Colin Simmons, Jeremiah Smith, David Stone, Leonard Moore. We're not really in the running back market. Dylan Stewart. We're not in the safety market. Cam Coleman, Zabian Brown. We're not really in the corner market. I'm higher on Nick Marsh than either T.J. Moore or Ryan Williams. Cage Casey out of Boise State's a good tackle. Drake Bowen's an incredible linebacker, even though we don't really need him. That would just be we're taking BPA at that spot. We need every single one of these defensive tackles, both left tackle and right tackle. Jordan Seaton and Brian Parker are targets of opportunity. Kevin Coleman as well. Coy Parrott should be at the point where if we're in that range, that's just BPA. So we've got some targets here in the first round that I like. If we go to our favorite board here, which we need to actually see what even pick we have, which would be helpful where we ended up. We got to look at our roster here, draft picks. We have the 5th and 37th pick. Nice. So depending on how the board falls, we may trade up to get David Stone. We may not. Just kind of all depends on it. So I'll meet you guys at the draft. We'll see how everything's shaking out there. Because I just don't think there's free agents here that's really going to be needle movers for us with where our team's sitting at. I guess really who I would target is what defensive tackles are on the market. That wouldn't be too stupid, like a good nose tackle. Like Bobby Brown is a young tackle that I could get for 2 years at about $11 million per. I'd be okay with that. He can come in and play nose tackle for us. Let's see, total offer strength, that's solid. Targeted, okay. There's not really a edge that I would look at here. Maybe Yetur Gross-Matos, but I don't know. It's funny they have him as an edge when that's a defensive tackle. But yeah, I think that the only free agent that I would go with here is really a nose tackle. Maybe a backup safety as well. Like Ronnie Hickman's young and is a free agent. We could get him for 3 years here, but I want to continue to try to develop Drayden Stukes, and that would kind of be detrimental, bad cap allocation, if that makes sense. And let's see, is there a strong safety I can flip to free safety here? Our boy Isaiah Simmons, may he RIP, turned edge rusher to Mike linebacker to safety. I think that's the only one that makes sense for us as a backup nose tackle. He's targeted. Let's see if we get him. And we got him. So I'll meet you guys at the NFL draft, and we'll go attack it together. All right, so let's kick off the NFL draft. We've looked at some mock drafts here in the sim, and what it looks like is we're going to end up with one of the edge rushers of Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons, or David Stone. Let's just see how the teams kind of play it out for us in front of us here. Pause, skip ahead, next pick. The Dolphins are 1 overall. They take Arch Manning. We've got one of Jeremiah Smith, and the 2 edge rushers are probably what's going to go in front of us, but Colin Simmons is off the board. The Panthers, they go with Jeremiah Smith. Let's see if surely I say that the Browns will probably be dumb enough. Do we go David Stone or do we hope that Dylan Stewart remains on the board? Dylan Stewart just looks like the better player. I'm going to try to trade up for him here. Going up, we've seen a trade like this before happen with back for the Mitchell Trubisky deal, and it was a first and a third. I'm going to try to get it done with a first, an extra fourth, and sixth pick that we have in this draft. See if the Browns want to just move down one slot to let us go get our guy. Let's see if this works. They take the deal. Let's go get the long-term edge rusher that's going to pair up next to Maxx Crosby and end up replacing him. Let's get Dylan Stewart out of our defense. Third ranked player, we got him at 4. Hidden depth trait, we love to see that. Hopefully it's a superstar. 89 speeds, crazy for an edge rusher. We'll make sure to do the training camps with them. I'm happy with the pick. Let's see how the draft board falls. Hopefully one of these good receivers fall into the second round. Maybe one of the tackles do as well, and we can target them a little bit later. So we'll go ahead to our next pick. We're sitting here at the top of the second round. Let's look at it. Cam Coleman's sitting on the board. I think Cam Coleman is not going to be here in real life in this draft class, as he'll probably go top 10. So I part of me can't make myself do it, even though I really want to. I just think that he'll be a top 10 pick come 2027. So we'll try to keep this somewhat realistic. Maybe look at TJ Moore, 6'2 playmaker. Nick Marsh, 6'3 playmaker. Ryan Williams, he probably would be there as well. Drake Bowen staring at me in the face. I think he'd be really good. Ahmed Hardy is probably also going to be a first-round pick in 2027. Coy Parrish as well. We can always take our medicine and get a nice right tackle, which I think that we can need. We also need a defensive tackle pretty solidly. Jordan Ross is somebody that's a tweener that in this scheme that I could turn into a defensive tackle and be like a 5 technique for us. That's not bad. I don't know what to do here, to be honest with you guys. Ultimately, I think that for this sim, right, we don't know anything. I should just go BPA. And so I'm going to take Cam Coleman. He'll be our number 1 receiver without a doubt. I'm sure that his ratings probably won't be as high in this, which is why he's this low. But since we got the 18th player at 37, we got a hidden depth trait there. 92 speed, 89 change of direction. That's what we want to see. That means he'll be able to separate. He'll be the number 1 receiving threat for Mendoza. So we got our number 1 wideout and our number 1 franchise edge rusher in this draft. It's making up to be solid. For this pick, for the third round pick 5, we got to find a right tackle or a defensive tackle to make this really a home run draft here. So see how the board's fallen. Nick Marsh is still on the board, which he shouldn't be. So we're going to act like he's not there. We've got some corners and some safeties as well, which we talked about possibly being areas of opportunity. We're thinking defensive tackle. Jamari Lyons would be exactly a good nose tackle for us that we're thinking about here. Let's just look and see who's on the board. Keanu Tanavesa, all C's. Marcus Burris. He's 6'5", 300. Jamari Lyons will most likely be the pick. This dude is a mass of a human. He's got great strength, but I mean, that is 6'5", 371. That's somebody I'm going to wait to see if he's still on the board. We've also got 6'6", 350. I think Jamari Lyons is going to be the pick here. Let's see what the talent was. Player 72 at 69, normal dev. That's not terrible. We'll get him to the point where he'll probably still start on our defensive line, so this is kind of where we're at as a talent point. But hopefully he ends up being the number 2 defensive tackle for us, and we can find a DT1 later. But 4th round, 5th pick of the 4th round, now we're just we're betting on upside. We're betting on trades, right? He's an edge rusher in real life. I don't know why they got him as a Sam here, but that could be a player of interest. This is where we could get that backup safety that's going to allow Traden Stukes to be our nickel corner, and we could trade Taron Johnson. We've got other defensive tackles on the board. We can add to our wide receiver room, like a 6'5", 207-pound receiver seems interesting. Nick Marsh is continuing to just fall. We got Bryant Wesco Jr. as well out of Clemson. Mike Matthews out of Tennessee. We also probably need a backup quarterback because Kirk Cousins retired. We could look at Joshua Barnum off of that stud Notre Dame defense and get another edge rusher as well. Kind of be that rotational edge. We do really need to invest in the defensive tackle room. This looks like this could be a solid. I know it says nose tackle, but he's 6'5", 300, B block shed, B power moves. With the way our scheme works, we're always going to have defensive tackles on the field at all times. I think this could be a good 5 tech for us. Let's go with it. Let's see if it ended up being a reach. Player 112 at player 101. That's not too terrible. The speed is not something that you like. The strength is what you like. Overall, we're trying to rebuild our defensive front. Now we need to probably target a developmental tackle here. But edge rusher, we've got 3 starters immediately. It's going to improve our team pretty drastically. That would be a horrible player to take, Krishawn McGarry here. We don't need a running back. We really don't need another edge. What we need is some offensive linemen. We could also go with a backup developmental tight end as well, but ultimately, tackle is what we're looking at. So we don't even know this man's name. I also don't know who he is in real life, so that's interesting. We got Cherry's Pete as well, Howard Simpson. That is intriguing. A impact, B run block, 6'8", 320, good speed, good strength. Let's take him. Bet on the upside. Would you look at that? Player 154 at 133. We'll take that any day of the week in these later rounds, especially when it comes to Madden scouting. At this point, you're just kind of you're playing the lottery here, seeing who you can draft, but that's not terrible at all. So here we are in the 6th round. Isaiah Satanga in real life, I think, will be long gone. Isaiah Horton as well, somebody that I think would be long gone by now. We've got some edge rushers falling. TJ Searcy out of Texas A&M, I think in real life will be long gone. Joe Lyson Landry as well. We could use a backup Mike linebacker, but what I'm thinking about is targeting that safety that I was speaking about earlier. Costin Cooley, he looks intriguing as a developmental offensive lineman, as a center. I know we got Tyler Linderbaum. This guy could be a long-term option for Jordan Meredith because we only got him on a 2-year deal. Van Wells as well. You always, like in the later rounds in Madden, you can bet on linemen and probably be okay. We'll look through these safeties. If there's not one that just is screaming or speaking to me, I'm probably not going to go with them because these are kind of looking not very good. I think we're going to go with my developmental center. I'll make him a guard, but I like him. I think that the attributes there means that he's going to be a solid player. And player 163 at 162. So there you go. Now we have a 7th round pick. I might end up drafting a fullback just to be funny because Cam Hayward sucks and I like to play with a fullback. Not Cam Hayward, but Hayward's younger brother, Cam Hayward from the Steelers. He's a gadget player in real life. So is there a fullback in this draft that just says, like, hey, I want this guy on my team? An Asian fullback? That's interesting. I don't think that that is a player type that I would imagine there. Garrett Oakley. That's 6'4", 235. Doesn't say tight end to me. Miles Kitzelman. This is probably somebody that DJ Gladstone would have drafted in the 1st round in this draft. For everybody that watched what the Jags did. Oh, this is interesting. He's 6'6", 250 with those traits. Why not? Let's draft him. Let's see how he turns out. Player 264 at 197. So absolute bust. Oh well. Well, basically in the draft, we'll look at the draft recap here of our players, see how we kind of made out, and we can rank our drafting. But overall, I think we're in a good spot here for our team. So I'll meet you guys here at this draft recap. Would you look at that? We got Dylan Stewart, 81 overall, is immediately going to come in, 17th ranked edge. Let's take a little peekage at what this dev trait's going to be, because I'm a little excited here. Hey, y'all saw it. Superstar. Okay, so obvious dog that we just drafted right there. So we've got our edge figured out. We've got our number 1 wideout here in Cam Coleman. We've got defensive tackles figured out, developmental left tackle, developmental guard, developmental tight end. I'll see you guys at the preseason of the 2027 offseason. So here we are at the start of the 2nd season of the rebuild. We improved our win total from 3-14 to 6-11. We drafted Dylan Stewart, we drafted Cam Coleman, and we also drafted Jamari Lyons, a defensive tackle. We drafted 3 starters. We plugged in Bobby Brown. We've developed some of the guys. And so this is kind of where the lineup's looking at heading into year 2 for the Las Vegas Raiders, which I think is a realistic plan for them for the offseason. Is they're going to try to play competitive football, start Fernando Mendoza late, allow them to be in a position to where they're going to gun for a wild card round here in year 2, and that's kind of where the team's sitting at. We still got Brock Bowers, we got Trey Tucker at 81 overall, we got Cam Coleman after the rookie mini camps up to 79 overall. We're going to try to develop him, put him in the number 1 spot. We got Ashton Genty, we got Mendoza sitting here as well, so you can see where the offense is looking at. The obvious holes: right tackle, left guard, but we have the beginnings of a exciting offense. Over on defense is where we did the majority of our work with our pass rush. We got Dylan Stewart and Maxx Crosby leading the way. Kwity Paye is an interior edge rusher. The thing that has the most work to do is our run defense with our defensive tackles. Needs a lot of work. There just wasn't really a clear path to upgrade them. Now we got at corners as well. We got a 30-year-old Teron Johnson kind of being the vet in the secondary that we might end up moving as a midseason trade, because we've got Darian Porter, Jermod McCoy, and Eric Stokes kind of rounding out the secondary. But our secondary is looking solid. We got 2025 second round pick Trayden Stukes here, and Jeremy Chin, because of his production, got up to an 85 superstar trait in the Seahawks scheme. Kind of over at the specialist positions as well, what we've got working with here is I'm going to put Brock Bowers as a slot wideout, so that way maybe his stats will go up, and we can get our best playmakers on the field, where Michael Mayer can also get some snaps and reps as well. Might hurt Trey Tucker's stats a little bit, but we got our goal of getting into a start dev, about 1,000 yards last season. And our goal is going to be trying to hand the rock to Ashton Genty and playing a good, sound, turnover-free football for Fernando Mendoza. So we're going to see how the sim shakes out. I expect us to be in the mix for a wild card round. I'll meet you guys during the midseason, and maybe we'll jump in, maybe we won't. Here we are 9 games through the year, and the sim's doing some wild stuff. So the offense is working out far better. I switched the playbook to the Dallas Cowboys scheme because it's still going to be similar to what Clint Kubiak does, but I think it performs better in the sim. Case in point, what the offense is doing right now has the 7th point total, but most importantly as well with how we've tried to build our team, running the football, 128-yard rushings a game, 5th in offensive points per game. Well, you can also see as well defensively we're performing well, but our run defense, pass defense isn't quite there. But what we're going to go look over in the stats is pretty hilarious what's going on. So Fernando Mendoza doing exactly what we want. 9 games through, 17-4 touchdown interception ratio. Turnover clean football, far better than the 10-12 ratio. We've got Ashton Genty almost averaging a monster 6 yards per carry. Only has 3 rushing touchdowns, but that's because Mendoza has some rushing touchdowns. And we've got Mike Washington Jr. being a vulture for the fantasy people in this universe, stealing Ashton Genty's touchdowns. Receiving happening out exactly how I want. Both Brock Bowers and Cam Coleman are producing extremely well. This is looking like a home run of a pick for us that fell to us in the 2nd round. And then defense, Maxx Crosby is saying, hey, I am the best football player in the league. Through 9 games, he has 18.5 sacks. I guess he is really being a merchant of what Dylan Stewart is doing for him right now, but holy freaking cow, that is insane. But I love it. That means that even though Dylan Stewart only has 3 sacks, this is working out how we want it to where we have a pass rush that we can build the defense around. We got some interceptions going around as well. It's funny, or probably not funny, it's probably not good that Jermod McCoy and Teron Johnson, our corners, are leading us in tackles, and not our linebackers. But hey, we are 5-4, 9 games going in through the season, playing good football. Let's see how we finish up, if we make the playoffs or not. So, I mean, we officially have the first winning season for the Raiders in this decade since 2020. I guess not this decade, since they lost the wild card round to the Bengals and Derek Carr's last season with them. And I mean, we're 9-7. Looking at the playoff picture here, we are the 7th seed. Looks like if we win against the Browns, we're in here. Looking at the stats, they're like you think. Mendoza's still playing solid football, but going to be brushing up towards 4,000 yards. About a 3-1 touchdown interception ratio. Ashton Genty's toting the rock. We about have 2,000-yard players, and Cam Coleman and Brock Bowers over on defense as well. Jermod McCoy is leading us in tackles somehow, so he's probably like Trayvon Diggs. He gambles a lot, gives up a lot in coverage, but he also picks the ball off sometimes with 4 picks. And then Maxx Crosby's run away with the NFL record and Defensive Player of the Year award with 25.5 sacks. We got our rookie pick in Dylan Stewart doing something nice there with 8.5 sacks as well, which is solid. Our interior presence is doing something with 4.5 and 4 sacks. We definitely got to upgrade that position in the offseason if we want to try to win a Super Bowl. But the team's performed really, really well, ahead of expectations in my opinion. Let's see if we can get into the playoffs, look at the wild card round for them. And the Raiders in year 2, let's see if they make the playoffs against the Browns. Week 18 sim here. Let's see. Moment of truth here. Do we make the playoffs for the Raiders or not? And it looks like that we were able to beat the Browns. We won 21-12, and now we get to actually. It looks like we somehow ended up winning our division here to host a playoff game. It looks like KC went 9-8, surprisingly, and it looks like the Chargers went the opposite end, as well as the Broncos. Which the Broncos in real life, I feel like they're a glass cannon. I just don't feel like their talent is as much as people think it is for a 13-win team, but. Anyways, we got some depth traits here to upgrade. Looks like Mendoza has developed very nicely up to an 86 overall. We'll get improviser going, hopefully. What is his lowest stat? Break, sack. That's probably accurate. We got Cam Coleman, who's developed into a very nice 84 overall player. The morale's boosting him great. Playmakers, what I always go with. He'll definitely probably be a superstar dev after this. We got Jackson Powers-Johnson as well, developing nicely as a guard. We got the 5th-year option decision on him, along with... No, he doesn't have a 5th-year option, but Brock Bowers does. 1,000-yard tight end. I'm not going to do what NFL franchises do and decline it. They always do it on non-premium positions like running backs, linebackers, and tight ends. I'm not going to do that. Brock Bowers, you're 100% getting your option extended. Hopefully, Ashton Genzy gets the superstar X factor after the season he just put up, but we'll see what the sim does here. I'm not going to enter in and play for this season. I think the final year when we try to win a Super Bowl is when I'm going to try to make that happen for the Raiders, but we're not going to enter in and play. We're going to let the sim play out here, and we'll see what we do in the playoffs here. So we're at the wild card round. We'll just advance it. We'll see if we make it. If we don't, if we do, awesome. If we don't, it is what it is. And we won the game. We won 24-14, pretty convincingly. Can we go to the playoff schedule and look at the stats here? How did that play out here? Looks like Mendoza came to play. Looks like we got Joe Flacco here, and Lamar Jackson continues choking like he normally does in the playoffs. So, all right then, we're now in the divisional round. Hopefully the sim isn't stupid and makes it to where this rebuild ends in 2 seasons, because I don't think the Raiders in 2 years will win a Super Bowl. But hey, winning a wildcard playoff game is not out of the realm of possibility here. But now we're going up against the Patriots in the divisional round. You can see their overall team is better. We are hosting it, though. It looks like they were a wild card team, so we do have the home. So let's see if we make a conference championship game or not. And we win the game. We are in the conference championship game against the Kansas City Chiefs, the 9-8 Kansas City Chiefs, which I think 2 years from now, I think that they will definitely be back in the playoffs, and that would definitely be something to behold for them. So, I mean, we'll see what the sim does here, because, I mean, our team, it's not like we got a donkey team or anything. I mean, ultimately, we built our team how we wanted to build it, right? We've got a offensive line that's playing really well. We went and got out Cam Coleman, Trey Tucker, and Jalen Naylor. That's a receiving trio. Fernando Mendoza, the morale's boosting him really high. So, I mean, they're all in a rhythm, playing well. We've seen it with quarterbacks go out and win a Super Bowl in the 2nd year in the league. We've seen it done before. So, I mean, this isn't crazy to think. I've seen stranger things in the league. I'll just be honestly kind of shocked if we end up getting to the Super Bowl here. So, we'll send the week for the playoffs here in the conference playoff week against the Chiefs. Let's see what happens. We win the game. 28-21. Just so that way y'all can see here for the playoff schedule here. No forced wins are happening here. This is pure sim luck here. So we are in the bowl. We are in the Super Bowl with the Raiders. 2 years post having, or only this second off, really only the first off season that we've rebuilt on the channel after the Super Bowl, or after they had the number 1 overall pick going into the Super Bowl. We're playing the Lions. They're trying to defend their title to become back-to-back champions, which would be incredible for the city. I think this is also somebody that the streets would always remember, the streets of Detroit, the streets of Las Vegas. Really, it'd be more fun if it was Oakland, but I mean, this would be an incredible Super Bowl. Las Vegas and Detroit, 2 tortured franchises getting to play for a Super Bowl. Obviously, Maxx Crosby wins DPOY. We got Jamar Chase out here winning Offensive Player of the Year. Who won MVP this year? Let's see. Oh, we're on NFC. My bad. NFL, Jalen Hurts, who can't throw the football, won MVP. That's will never happen. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Cam Coleman came up just short to DJ Lagway for the Colts, which that would never ever happen because that'd be like them picking Anthony Richardson again. Ain't no way. Defensive Player of the Year as well, Dylan Stewart came up slightly short, but we'd love to see it. So I mean, we're in here to play a Super Bowl. I'll upgrade the players. I'm not going to enter in. We're going to let the sim play out here because I will honestly be a little shocked if we end up winning a Super Bowl because that means year 3 we'll end up playing with house money with whatever we want to see how this rebuild play shakes out. But we'll go ahead and just do that, and we will let the sim gods decide. Really, hey, how about we hop in and we'll watch the sim as it goes, see if we can make a run or not. But I'm not going to play because I don't know about y'all, but I don't think anybody sees the Raiders actually playing for and winning a Super Bowl in the 2027 season, going from a 6-11 team to a Super Bowl winning team. I do think the jump from 6-11 to 7-10 or 6-11 to a winning season, 10-7 is very likely for them, but we'll see. So we'll just jump forward to the end of the game, see how the sim plays out, and looks like it's a barn burner right now, 0-0. Got the Raiders out there kicking a field goal. Got the Lions coming back, but now we got Mendoza at 17-10. Looks like it's getting exciting to finish. We're going to have a Super Bowl go to overtime. Would y'all look at that? The Las Vegas Raiders, year 2, they win the Super Bowl when all we really did is draft Dylan Stewart and add him into this edge rusher team and really let our guys develop. But we built the team how we wanted to build them. So we'll go into year 3 here because I promised you guys 2 off seasons, 3 years to rebuild the team. Now, obviously, when we probably make this team better, we're not going to win a Super Bowl again. But stranger things have happened, and I mean that's the vision I think that they have for their team is they're going to try to build through the offensive line. They're going to try to add a incredible edge rusher of this loaded 2027 draft class. Oh, okay, we're still in. Perfect. So Mendoza, Super Bowl winning quarterback in year 2. Now he can, if he wants to, go the Joe Flacco route where he never has an incredible playoff run again because he's playing with house money the rest of his career. But contract extended, obviously. We'll get to the offseason here. We'll try to make some moves. The moves I see us making is trying to get a right tackle, trying to get a defensive tackle, trying to shore up some of that. Maybe there's a move to be made with our middle linebackers. But, I mean, this is a Super Bowl winning Las Vegas Raiders team. So, there you go. We'll upgrade our players here in the offseason again one more time, make it realistic for the money I'll have to pay them if I want to keep them or not. Which I guess maybe the playbooks that I used are just that loaded. So we'll accept the 5th-year option for Brock Bowers. Jeremy Chin, down to star dev, 28-year-old safety. We probably won't find better. We've got all the cap space in the world. I'll do better about this roster in the next rebuild as well, making sure it's more accurate with the salaries, because I don't think we should have this much cap space, but I'll still negotiate these contracts out, which would make sense. So Trey Tucker, I think that we're getting on 3-year extensions. He would probably command about $14 million on the open market, so we'll offer him a 3-year, 42 deal. He'll come back. Michael Mayer, he pretty much is getting on the field to be a starting tight end for us. I'll give him about a 4-year, $42 million deal because I think he's a very adequate, good tight end. He shouldn't be coming up yet. He is a rookie. I'll let him go. Same with Kieran Crockard. Isaiah Polamalu. There's no one else really here looking at it that we need. Alex Ward, long snapper, all right. So, I mean, I'm not paying $10 million a year for a backup tackle. I'm also not doing the same thing for an edge that's simply on the rookie contract. So, we'll go to free agency here. I'll kind of peruse it, see if there's some moves that need to be made, like the defensive tackle. Because I think what's about to happen is these contracts got strewed up and some rookies are going to be here that shouldn't be. But Zay Flowers hitting free agency, that could be something that could honestly happen if they don't want to pay up after they franchise tag him. We got Grover Stewart here. Like LT Overton should still be on his rookie contract. Nolan Smith, okay, that could be an edge potentially. DJ Reader still on the open market. We got Antonio Johnson, Jake Galday. Yeah, honestly, I'm not seeing anything that's just again, there's no real needle movers, if you will, for a Super Bowl winning team. Because we can choose to be picky. I think we're just gonna play with house money here. We're gonna Morrow. Okay, that might be somebody I'm interested in, but I'm not paying him 16 milli. That's not happening. I mean, let's look at defensive tackle and just see what's out there. Like, I'm not paying what some of these guys want. I think our best bet is gonna be drafting. Like, these are some rookies that shouldn't be available but are from the 2026 season. I think we're gonna buzz it forward to the draft. That's what we've done with our team, right? Is we've trusted our draft evaluations. We're gonna build through the trenches. So I think our draft target's right. We're gonna have late round picks, or we're gonna have pick 32 every single time, and we're just going to be drafting based off need at those picks, to be honest with you. We're going to look at defensive tackle, we'll look at safety, we might look at another wide receiver, we might look at an off-ball linebacker. But, I mean, this team's close to being a completed product. I mean, it is, after all, a Super Bowl winning team, which is wild to say in one off-season of doing it. But we'll skip ahead to our user picks, who's on the board here. Hopefully a defensive tackle that we like falls to us. We got a million wide receivers, which Deontay Pritchett, this looks like a fun player. B release, a deep route. He's fast, tall. Dom Moyer, if that is not Cooper Kupp's clone, I don't know who is. Chad Batch, oh, he's only 6'4", though. Poor strength. I'm out on that, Chief. There is the safety there as well. This would be somebody I would draft and make a defensive tackle because he's 6'6", 300 pounds. And so the 5.0 speed's fine, strength's fine, A play recognition, A pursuit, A block shedding. I would really want to know what the power moves are. So he's somebody that we might draft. A trade down could be in play here. There's J.C. Hunt. Wyatt Boone. That would be such a Clint Kubiak pick. Pick a guard when we don't really have to have one. I'll draft on need here. Well, let's actually look at defensive tackle first, though, before we actually even do that. Let's actually look at what's available to us. I want somebody that is good with power moves. I don't want these speed edge rusher dudes. I want somebody that can clog a lane. Aiden Jackson looks like he can clog a lane, but that would be a major trade down. I think we're going to go with that edge rusher that was a run stopper, the 6'8", because he can be a 5 technique for us. I mean, B power moves, A block shedding. There's also Zeke Townsend here. He has great strength. What strength did he have? He had good strength, but he's also younger. We'll do it. We'll see what the talent says. And it looks like we reached. But there is the hidden depth trait, which is what we want. We can put him at defensive tackle. I think it'll be an upgrade for the front. So enough of me nattering away there. We'll go on to the second round here. We'll see who's available. We'll treat it the same process. This is where we can get that kind of nickel extra safety hybrid. Eli Hartwell looks intriguing. Lance Hazelwood looks intriguing. That's not good ratings, even though he's a big physical player. Mike Parker probably can't run to save his life. We got Jason Brackens. I could pull my DJ Gladstone out and literally do what the Jags did and take a blocking tight end from a Texas college that can't run at the top of the second round. We got Jared Drummond sitting there as well. There's some of those other defensive tackles, like that guy that I told you about, Aiden Jackson, but we can't keep just drafting defensive tackles. We'll go Lance Hazelwood as kind of a backup to some linebackers that might be leaving soon, which looks like we did good. 58th player out of 64, hidden dev trait. That's what we want to do when we draft, is we want to draft for upside. So here with our third round pick, we'll try to look at maybe that backup safety, backup tight end. Antonio Bynes, no. Eric Roman, that's intriguing. He is a 6'1" power back with decent speed, but the ball carrier vision I like. Eric Tanner, awful, no. Nathan Willem, awful, no thank you. Enrique Jaramillo, he's 6'5" and can't run. We've got another big. Well, that was an F. You don't draft people with Fs. That's what you don't want to do. He has B power moves, so that's what makes him a little intriguing. 6'3", 380-pound nose tackle. With that's fast for somebody that big. We're drafting him. Well, Martin Dickerson, you have a hidden depth trait. I don't care. It says it was a massive reach. He has hidden depth trait. I might literally just make the corn-fed boys from Iowa be the D-line room just because of their hidden depth traits. But we're playing with house money. We won a Super Bowl. We can be kind of stupid here with what we're doing because it doesn't really matter at this point. That running back. Oh, but I like you. We'll go. We don't need a running back, but let's just do it. I like what I saw from Sebastian. Ranked 120 at 128. Not bad. That's hitting a safe double with our draft process there. Because now we're in the 5th round. I'm gonna be funny here and draft a kicker and just see what overall the kicker has. Let's see. Mike Rain. Oh, he might be Dan Bailey or Brandon Aubrey. Would you look at that? That's a great draft process, right? Hidden depth trait, ranked 67th overall in the 5th round. We'll advance to the end of the draft. I won't bore you guys with my draft sicko moves here. I'll meet you guys. We'll take a look at the draft recap. We'll see how I did. So that way I'll show my work here. Draft recap. You'll see it live here. I'll move him over to a defensive tackle. So that way we can actually see what his overall ends up being at defensive tackle. 75 overall. It's not bad. I'm also going to change him to where he appears a little heavier. So that way it's not, you're like, why is he looking like a skin and bone when he's not? Because he's going to be playing on the line. But we might have just drafted J.J. Watt there. He's immediately our best interior defensive tackle. Hazelwood as well. That's a good, nice developmental backup linebacker with a hidden depth trait. We got Martin Dickerson. He has a depth trait even though he's 65 overall, but I'm okay with it. 72 overall kicker and some other developmental pieces in the secondary. Sebastian Angelo, about a 70 overall running back. So that's our draft class. I'll see you guys at the start of the season with the final lineup going into year 3. So here's the final roster for year 3, where we're going to try to go back-to-back and defend our Super Bowl title. We ended up with 2 X factors, which I think everybody would expect ultimately with an offense like this, is where we've got Ashton Jeanty and Brock Bowers as our 2 X factors. We still got Tyler Linderbaum, year 3 of the contract. Cam Coleman, still at a star. Trey Tucker as well. Over on defense, we've got our superstar edge rushing duo, pretty much the Texans with Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter. We got Maxx Crosby and Dylan Stewart. I went ahead and, since Taron Johnson's 31 years old, made him the backup free safety, so that way when we get in our nickel stuff, I can move over Traden Stukes to be the nickel quarter and get Taron Johnson on the field. Also allows Darian Porter, Eric Stokes, and Jermon McCoy to play. On defensive line, I'm going to start our first round pick, Nick Herbert, at defensive tackle, with Bobby Brown and Jamari Lyons. And then for fun, I'm going to have Matt Dickerson play nose tackle when we get into our kind of special stuff. Got the rookie kicker starting. You can see it on the specialist what I've done. I know he's a 61 overall, but I mean, he's 380 pounds. Gosh dang it. Surely he's not going to get moved. And then we've got Brock Bowers still playing slot receiver. We've got Ashton Jeanty as kind of the number 1 player rushing defensive tackles. We've got Jamari Lyons and Nick Herbert. We should be able to repeat as our Super Bowl title. So I'll meet you guys at the end of the season. We'll see how we finish up. We may end up in the playoffs. I'll go ahead and play one more live game for you guys. So here we are in the final season playoff run. We finished up 11-6. We improved our record every year, which is where we want to be. Playoff bracket again. We're the 3 seed, hosting the 6-seeded Browns. Have a home playoff game. Let's go take a look at the stats. Fernando Mendoza turned in another really solid season. 4,500 yards, 35 touchdowns, 12 picks. So that puts his career stats at about 10,000 passing yards, 75 touchdowns, 32 picks. That's about a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio, which he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. That's pretty solid. Got Ashton Jeanty here as well through 3 seasons, 4,000 rushing yards. What we want to see. Brock Bowers and Cam Coleman have been very solid. We got Maxx Crosby career sack wise up to 111 career sacks, which is, once you get about over 100 career sacks, that's when you get talked about being in the Hall of Fame category. I think he cemented himself inside of the Sims, a Hall of Famer with the Super Bowl win and DPOY, but pretty solid. Look at the actual season stats, though. Ashton Genty, 1,300 rushing yards. Cam Coleman, 1,300 receiving yards. Got Brock Bowers here with another 940 receiving yard season. Defensively, looks like Maxx Crosby came back down to earth, but he still had 15 sacks. Dylan Stewart turned in 10 sacks as well. TFLs, we were pretty solid there. Our front was going to work. Nate Herbert, about 34 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 5 TFLs. All I could really ask for. Jamari Lyons turned in a pretty good solid season there as well. Quay Walker came away with 2 picks, and then Tremont McCoy still holding down the fort with about 100 tackles and other picks. So, all in all, good season for us. We'll go to this playoff run and see if we can defend our Super Bowl championship. And what I'll do is I'll do the play the moment. Well, let's just see what the wild card does, y'all. Ultimately, well, I'll play the moments for you guys for this wild card round here, and then after that we'll see if we make the Super Bowl or not. So that way we get a little gameplay and see what this team can actually look like when it's good, not when I was playing with the rookie Fernando Mendoza. But I don't know if this is the timeline that it would work out for the Raiders to win a Super Bowl, but I do think in the next 3 to 4 years, ultimately, that if they build their team, they hit on their draft picks, that it's not crazy to say. I do think that just their goal in the 2027 offseason is going to have to be getting a pass rusher to pair up with Maxx Crosby if you're going to keep Maxx Crosby, because the NFL is built around the trenches, your offensive line and defense line. And what I think, at the very least, what they've done a very good job of is trying to rebuild their offensive line. And having Fernando Mendoza trying to solve the quarterback situation. So we'll see. This is a 3rd down. I'm going to try to swim, and that didn't work. Harold Fannin Jr. just broke 5 tackles to get a 1st down. That is a little wild. We got a big 3rd down stop. We'll go nickel blitz here, except my nickel defender, I'm going to make a QB spy, and then we'll rush 5. We'll stunt with Maxx Crosby. Ooh. That was a murder right there. We held him there. Got him to force a field goal. Big field goal, 4th and 11. All right, if it was going to be any closer than the 4th and 11, I was going to go for it. But we'll knock our field goal here. Go 10-3. Hopefully we can get a little 2-minute opportunity here. Big 3rd down stoppage here. 3rd and 10. What do I like? We'll go nickel sim 2 again. It's dime, except he's, again, going to be kind of a spy player. And we're going to try to rush with Maxx Crosby. We'll spin into nothing. We covered everybody up, so that's at least something. We'll call a timeout. Looks like Julian Sayin is who the Browns decide to make their savior. 10-3, we don't get an opportunity to come into the game. 10-3. 3rd down alert. We'll line up an inside zone, but most likely, looks like we can see the nickel defender's going to blitz. We'll look at Brock Bowers here. Nope. Genty. Come on. 4th and 1. We'll probably go for it. If you can't tell, I pretty much like this formation just for the way it puts the hook defender in conflict. And so, there we go. We'll dump it out again. Be Drew Brees in his prime, or excuse me, Tom Brady in his prime, and be the check down king. We'll line up. We're going to run a little ISO. I'm going to try to make it actually play like duo. Backside backers all the way over in a 50 alignment. So we'll try behind this left guard and center. It'll climb up. Jackson Powers Johnson lost horrifically on his solo block, and so ended up being 0 gain. We'll run mesh in the high red. This is normally a good player, except we always want the rail to go into the boundary. We don't want it going towards the field. So that's what we'll do here. It's not open. We'll always throw the middle hook, though, to Brock Bowers, and that's open. And would you look at that? Tutty just ran over everybody. So 17-3, we have, well, it's 17-10 now. Looks like we're going to get a chance to do some ball control, a little 4-minute offense here. So we're going to be aiming to move the chains, not the explosive play, the safe play to move the chains. He had him on ice skates. Thank you. 47 cannot run with Brock Bowers. Okay, we're going to line up under center. Going with a little lead dive here. It looks like we got Mike Mayer lining up here to blocks the fullback. We got great push by the line. A little 13-yard gain. They're calling their timeouts. Looks like we got this one under wraps here. We'll run ISO again. But that's kind of what I was talking about for the Raiders. I just think there's a clear path to contention for them with the way they're building their team because of the future of Ashton Genty, the future of Brock Bowers, and the future of Fernando Mendoza. That's your core three on offense. You got to build around them. You got to hope that Colton Miller can continue to stay healthy and be a franchise tackle for you. And we've patchworked it in this sim, right, with right tackle with DJ Glaze, but I think that they've got to figure out the opposite tackle position on the offensive line, and then most importantly, the defensive line has got to get rebuilt for them. I think they figured out their secondary with getting in Traden Stukes, Taron Johnson, drafting Jermon McCoy as developmental piece, having Jeremy Chin in the backfield. Ultimately, the major hole in the team is their defensive front, and I think that's where they're going to divert their energy to rebuilding in the 2027 offseason after this year. And I think it's going to just be the consistent theme you're going to see that really happened to my Dallas Cowboys, is where it's going to be a team that's competitive, they're coached well on one side of the ball, and they might even be coached well on the defensive side of the ball, but I just think the defensive line is going to be their Achilles heel that's going to lose them games, and that teams later and be able to run the football on them, there's not going to be much that they can do. Didn't do a great job of running the clock out completely here because we got into the red zone too late. So we'll go for the touchdown. If we don't get it, they'll have to drive the length of the field. Ooh, we're going to relive the national championship moment with Fernando Mendoza there. Cheese it into the end zone. I think we got this one on wraps, boys. So we won the wild card round. I'm going to sim out the rest of it, see if we can make it back to the Super Bowl. But at the very least, we won a Super Bowl with the Raiders. We built a team that we know that works, that can run the football, can rush the passer, play good defense. We allowed an environment for Fernando Mendoza to develop. And overall, I'm really happy with how this rebuild turned out. So what I would love for you guys to do is drop a comment below of what you think I can improve on these rebuilds, what you would like to see, because I kind of just do it how I would do it privately. This is what I do for fun, and on a lark, I decided to record one. People seem to like it. So y'all let me know some of the creators out on YouTube that you like to watch and what they do on their rebuilds that you'd prefer to see. But ultimately, what I try to do on here is try to make it close to as realistic as possible that a sim would allow, get realistic rosters, try to make realistic trades, moves that I would do in that position. And so, 3 years into it, we improved our record every single year. We ended up producing a top 10 offense and a top 15 defense. Maxx Crosby won Defensive Player of the Year. Fernando Mendoza developed to be a really good quarterback, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Anyways, guys, drop below what team that you want us to rebuild next on the channel. If we don't get anybody, I'll probably move down the draft order and go with New York Jets yet. But we appreciate y'all tuning in to our live draft show. We're going to have the next episode of The War Room coming out probably next week. We're going to start something new on the channel called War Room Wisdom, where what this is going to be is us looking at different aspects of life in football, life outside of football, and wisdom from the War Room that me and Liam have picked up over the years. But overall, we appreciate all the support on the channel. We're trying to push to 500 subs for the start of the NFL season. We're at 472. So we appreciate all the support, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.